Hello everyone and welcome to this pick a card reading. This reading is all about how you can connect to your animal communication abilities. So everyone is psychic, everyone is intuitive. So with animal communication, we are using the same abilities that we would use to connect to receive psychic information or even connect to spirits as like a mediumship skill. So this is no different. Everyone has the ability to communicate with their animal friends. If this is something that you've always wanted to do, just know that you can do it. I do have a course on it as well. It's kind of like an add-on to my main basic psychics course. You can also purchase it as an add-on to my masterclass course. Either way, it's a short and sweet course that you can get to learn how to connect to your animal friends. But this is going to be a more personalized reading. It is going to be a group reading. It is timeless, so no matter how old this video is, whenever you come across it, I have set the intention that this is for you as well. So please subscribe for more psychic development tips, more animal communication tips. I have a ton of videos here on my channel about animal communication. How these piles work is that you're going to, in a minute, have a little bit of time to meditate, be drawn to a certain pile. You can also look at the emoji in the timestamps down below and see which one you are drawn to, but you're going to either pick pile 1, 2, or 3. If you're feeling drawn to multiple piles, you can pick those as well. Just remember, the future can change. I can be wrong. You have free will. And this is a group reading, so that means that some of this might resonate with you and some of it might just be for somebody else. So take what resonates and leave the rest. So I'm going to give you some time here to meditate on these 3 different piles. Go ahead and ask your guides, which pile is for me to be able to connect better to my animal communication abilities. If you chose pile number 1, this is going to be your pile. The first thing we are going to be starting out with is your strengths as an animal communicator. And we have polarity. Love that. Okay. I feel like this card loves to taunt me because it's the hardest to explain if you haven't heard of shadow work, which I did just recently have a video on that, so it might be worth checking out. But polarity. Polarity, just the idea of this is it's kind of thinking about how everything in life is, there's 2 sides to everything. There is the sides that we pay attention to and then the sides that we're hiding from. And when we think about it with like shadow work, for example, this is like the side of ourselves that we present to the world, that we show to ourselves, show to others. And then there's the side of us that we kind of keep hidden from other people. It's the triggers, it's the traumas, it's the bad personality traits that we don't like that we're working on. It's the stuff that we like to like hide away in the closet. And to me, it's interesting that this is coming out as a strength. This to me says that you have a really good sense of doing shadow work, of doing, honestly, like when I think about this is like block removal when it comes to your animal communication abilities. So you have a really good awareness of like what is blocking you with your animal communication abilities. And you also know like what you're good at. And so this being a strength, I think is fantastic. So when this shows up as a strength, I really feel like this is our guides telling us like, hey, you have a really good idea of what's going on under the surface with your abilities. And this is just your psychic abilities. I'll also say animal communication abilities, but they're one and the same thing. Like if you are feeling stuck with your abilities, or if you're feeling stuck with one of your animals or all of your animals in particular, like you know what's going on. It's not like this big mystery. I think you have a really good sense of being able to work with yourself, do that shadow work, do that block removal, so that you can understand like what's going on, not only with yourself and your animal communication abilities, but animals themselves. And I feel like the other part of this that I'm getting is that you also understand the polarities of animals themselves. And I'm getting like there's so many multiple things here. Like you understand that every situation is not so black and white with animals. Like you understand that they can feel one way and feel another. Like you understand the complexities of animals' feelings, emotions, and thoughts. And I feel like it's not just so like surface level to you. I think you also understand that like when reading animals, it's not about like us controlling them. It's like about this back and forth. You know, you are an equal part in a relationship, or, you know, your client is an equal part to their animal companion. And it's not about getting the animal to do what you want. It's more about like, how can we coexist with one another? And I feel like this is, to me, is saying like you have a lot of empathy towards these animals, which is a good thing. Ultimately, there's like a lot of respect here for animals and for yourself and your abilities. And I really like this because this to me says you have a very grounded, very ethical approach. I love this. So let's get into the next card that I want to pull, which are your current blocks. Like what I want to know, like where you're feeling blocked in regards to your animal communication abilities. Influencer. Interesting. Okay, the one thing I'm definitely hearing first is like being influenced by other people, like other psychics, other animal communicators, maybe how other people are approaching this. Maybe they don't have that kind of like approach that you do that's more ethical and grounded. Maybe they are more black and white, whereas you see all the complexities in between. And maybe you just haven't seen like the right stuff or heard the right stuff when it comes to your abilities from somebody that's like a good source. So like I feel like this is one, like being influenced by people who just don't represent you. So you're kind of feeling like, oh, maybe I'm not doing it right. Maybe I'm not connecting with my animals right because of like who I'm being influenced by. I thought I heard something else, but Spirit is like, nope, that's it. You got it. Move on. Okay. I feel like there's something else here though. Oh, that's what it is. I think I've already kind of repeated this, or I've already said this, but it's like being influenced by like the people that you're reading. Like maybe there's sometimes when like you're reading clients or something and they're like, I need the dog to stop doing this, and you kind of might fall into the trap of answering those questions instead of leaning onto your strength of being like, you know, we can't like tell them what to do or how to act, or you know, like understanding and explaining those ethics, and that, you know, that there's not a black and white, there's a little bit more gray there. Okay. And I want to know next, like, what your current thoughts like are around your own animal communication abilities. Like, what do you think about it? Okay, and you think you need to clean it up. You think that you need to like deal with your blocks, that you suck at this, that your abilities are not good for whatever reason. And so to you, you need to clean it up. And I pulled this out reverse. So this to me says though that like you're doing a good job. And like, yeah, there's of course things that you can clear up, blocks you can remove, but you've done a lot of the work here. Again, remember, your strength here is like you see that shadow, you see those blocks. And because of that, you are a lot cleaner and clearer of a vessel when it comes to that animal communication, like ability coming through. that I feel like you're almost like over analyzing it to the point. This reading is so for me. This is so my pile. I heard it at the beginning, but I didn't want to like say it. But this is so me too. This is definitely my pile, which I am reading the group, and I am part of that as well. But anyways, but you're over analyzing it. Like, yes, you know to clean it up, but there's a point at which, like, if you're so focused on the blocks and there aren't any blocks, like, you can block yourself just because you think you have a block. Does that make sense? How many of you are Virgos? That's what I want to know. All right. I think this is, though, with this block, you know, also cleaning up, like, what are you consuming? Who are you watching? Like, what books have you read? Like, what has been told to you about animal communication? Where did you get influenced into thinking maybe you couldn't do this or you weren't good enough? Like, that can absolutely be cleaned up a little bit more. Where is that, like, self-criticism and self-judgment coming from? Is it coming from yourself? Did you hear it from somebody else? Again, you probably already know because you're really good at doing that block removal, that shadow work. Now I'd like to know the best piece of advice that we can have for strengthening our animal communication abilities. And I have trust versus validation. This is such a good pile. This is just like, this makes so much sense together. And I say that because like the trust versus validation card is all about like trusting the information that's coming through versus like needing to get validation from the pet's owner or, you know, some other source of influence. I did not mean to say that, but that's what it's coming through as well, as like being influenced maybe by a vet or by somebody who says something about you know, maybe your partner who also is like there in the home with you. Like, there's a difference between trusting yourself and seeking validation from others. Because when you seek validation from others, you're basically saying, I don't trust my own judgment here. I don't trust my own abilities. And so your biggest piece of advice from Spirit to kind of strengthen this is that you got to learn to trust yourself and not look so much outwardly for the advice that you're like hoping to get. What's coming through is absolutely like correct. Maybe not all the time, of course, but like you have to understand that with your animal communication abilities, that if you don't trust them, like they're not going to be as accurate. There has to be like faith in your psychic abilities for it to work well. Because if you're ultimately saying, I don't trust my abilities, I'm going to go talk to somebody else, or even like I'm going to look at my pet or animal like logically and not trust in my intuition, you know, that is prioritizing your logic or someone else's logic over your own gut and that psychic hit that comes through. So try to trust more. Try to trust those hits that are coming through more and not look so much for that outward validation or logical explanation. Now the next thing that I want to do, I want to know what power animal is here to help you with your psychic abilities. And I'm going to do bibliomancy for this. So I am going to take my animal spirit guide book. I'm going to flip through it a couple times until I feel drawn to stop. And then we will see which animal is here to help us communicate with animals. You can always ask guides to come through whenever you're doing like an animal communication reading, whether that's for somebody else or for yourself. This can be a guide that's like here to help you specifically to talk to these animals. So let's see who comes through for pile one. Feeling here. Ooh, I got the blue whale, or maybe just like a whale in general. Now the blue whale represents actually like your voice and being able to speak up for those who cannot communicate, which are these animals. It also represents like a deep understanding of your subconscious. Think of whales that are deep down in the ocean and water being like your intuition. So that is what the blue whale represents. I'm going to write this down for us so we don't forget. And the last thing that I want to know is like, what action can we take right now, tomorrow, this week, to really like get our animal communication abilities flowing and moving? Like, what's next? Love it. Ooh, and some of us also might have the cheetah or the cat. Oh, and I should have said that too with the deer. The deer is absolutely one of my guides. How did I miss that? This also might be another power animal if you're really not connecting to that whale. Go the distance. This to me says just do something. Just start connecting. Maybe it's connecting with your animal, reading other people's animals. Maybe it's sitting down and starting a course. Maybe it's picking up a book on animal communication. Like, just make forward movement and do it is like what this card is all about. So that to me, like, overall what this is saying to me is like, you're analyzing it too much. You're really good at this. Trust yourself. Like, just do it. Just start, or keep going, depending on where you're at in your journey. I love this. So thank you all so much for watching. If you want to grab any of these decks that I have used, they will be linked down below. Again, remember that I have an animal communication course if you're really feeling drawn to like develop those abilities even more. I also have an animal communication playlist here on my channel, all free videos if you're not quite sure if you want to jump in yet. But feel free to subscribe for more animal communication tips. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And just know you can always book a reading or coaching session with me on your abilities anytime through my website. Thanks so much for watching. Bye. Alrighty, if you chose pile number 2, this is going to be your pile. And the first card that we are starting out with, I want to know your strengths, especially around animal communication. And again, animal communication, those abilities are the same abilities as the psychic ability. So if I say the psychic ability, I'm basically saying the same thing. What are your strengths? Ooh, adventure. Dare to do things differently. Manifest your travel dreams. Move to a new location. Okay. One thing that I'm getting with this card, actually, I do feel like some of you might connect easier like with wild animals, or just like literally being out and about with animals, like literally going outside. Like for example, I feel like the majority of the time I'm connecting with animals, I'm doing it via like phone or video readings. But there's something about getting in person or out and about with these animals that I really actually feel like might help you. Don't feel like you're like stuck to doing that, like you have to travel or something in order to communicate. But this to me says you just have like, there's something about like literally getting with them even in person that just helps you really connect. And just being out in nature, like even if you had to do a reading just sitting outside in your porch or something, or like getting inspired by going on a walk before you have to do a reading. I'm just getting like very much being connected to like Gaia, Mother Earth, before, chatting with animals, because you have an understanding of the fact that like we are one with them as well, and like we're no different from them. And there's something about getting out, hearing the birds, seeing the ducks, like, whatever it is in your area, that just like helps you realize, oh yeah, I'm just like them. I'm one and the same. So it's so easy for me to like connect. All right. So the next thing I want to know is like, what are your current blocks around your animal communication abilities? Where are you feeling stuck? Ooh, I love this. You're not putting yourself out there. Not that you have to become like a professional psychic if that's not something you want. Like that, is not saying you have to do that. If that is something you want though, you're not being seen, you're not advertising it, you're not being like found yet. So if that's something you want, definitely like focus on your marketing and like how you're putting yourself out there. Like, is it clear that you're an animal communicator? What does your sessions look like? Like, how do you do them? Or if this is like, you just wanting more practice and you're just wanting to like read yourself or maybe read for some friends, like how are you letting people know that you want that practice? Like, you know what, we have a Facebook group that you can get in there and like share and be like, hey, I want to practice my animal communication. Somebody have a pet that, you know, you have questions for. I'm also getting like even at a smaller level for some of you who really are uncomfortable with a lot of that. It's like, are you actually sitting down and talking to your animals? Like, I feel like there's just a lot of like hesitance and nervousness around putting yourself out there or sharing even just the things that you're picking up. So I would say here the message is to definitely find more confidence, put yourself out there, like figure out why you feel like you can't. Spread your voice, spread the messages that are coming through. Even if it's like, I'm also hearing like on a larger scale, like I don't know if you connect, like when I first started out, I would like really connect with like the animals in the ocean, and like I would just feel so strongly like such a like a group message from all of them. And you know, it was so hard for me to be like all the sea creatures say this, because it just felt so like weird to say out loud. And it's okay to like have those channeled messages and throw them up on like a blog or something. Ultimately, you're not sharing what you're getting, and it's making you feel like you need to get permission to share that. And the only person that's going to give that to you is yourself. Or me. I'm giving you that permission. Go ahead and share. Obviously, like if it's with somebody else, ask permission first. But next, I want to know, like, what are your thoughts on your abilities? Like, when you think about your animal communication abilities, what do you think? You think you're at a fork in the road. You think you're stuck. You don't know which way to go with it. Maybe that's just like, how do I even use this? And that's totally normal. So to me, this is like, figure out your why. Like, why do you want to do this? Which way do you want to go with it? And we have a couple animals showing up here. I don't know if this is a llama or an alpaca, maybe an alpaca. We also have an owl and a monkey. So those could be possible spirit animal guides for you. I just feel like with this, it's like you don't know which direction you want to go because you're not sure what you want to do with this. And that's like a pretty common thing with the psychic ability, the animal communication ability. You're like, do I read other people? Do I just read myself? Like, do I become a professional at this? You know, when you make that decision, that kind of informs your why and which direction you should go. But ultimately, if you think you're stuck, you're going to stay stuck. So, not that you have to make a choice, but I feel like to kind of not feel so stuck with your abilities, it might be good to just have a direction or a purpose behind like why you want to do this. Even if it's just, I want to connect to my own animals, or when I go out in nature, I want to be able to hear messages from animals. Like, it can be as simple as that. And the next thing I want to know is kind of like the biggest advice that Spirit has for you for strengthening your abilities. We got this in the last pile. Trust versus validation. This to me makes sense. I feel like with animal communication, a lot of people out there think like they need permission or they're not like good enough to do this. And like what I was explaining in the last pile was that this is about trusting yourself versus seeking outside validation. And that outside validation could be like the vet or your partner, like somebody that lives with your pet too, and you're like, I don't know, what do you think? Do you think they're sad? Do you think they're blah, blah, blah? Or it could be like validation in your own logical mind. Like, one thing I commonly see is like you get an intuitive hit about your pet, and then you're like, okay, Fido, like, show me that I'm right by doing XYZ. Like, you want the physical proof, you want the logical proof, because you don't trust the psychic ability over like those logical thoughts or those logical like observations that you make about your pet. Like, maybe it's that you're looking at your pet very literally and not, again, trusting the fact that you think you can hear them saying something in your head. This is also just about trusting your abilities and trusting that you are connecting and that you can do this, so that you can start putting it out there that like, oh, hey, yeah, I do this. And this is the message that I'm getting. All right. And the next thing I want to do, I want to ask which animal spirit guide or power animal is here to help you to specifically connect with other animals. And we can always ask for guides. We can always ask for guides for certain things in our life. And this one, I'm just going to kind of use bibliomancy, flip through these until I feel drawn to a certain page. We're going to see who comes through. You guys, again, if you were already really resonating with one of these, go for it. Ooh, we have the goat for pile number 2. The goat represents not being criticizing or being negative to yourself. The goat also like represents like butting your head up against like the wall and feeling like you have to kind of like move through obstacles, climb through obstacles, but ultimately like always landing on your feet. So the goat is kind of like resiliency, and they're here to definitely help you connect with other animals. And there is like this sternness coming through of like, break through these blocks that you have, break through like that self-criticism so that you can ultimately receive and pass on these messages. So if that resonates, go ahead and take it. If one of these other animals, I think it's interesting because it looks very similar to this alpaca or whatever this is. Sometimes though, those animal guides just don't resonate, and maybe it's just for somebody else here. So you can always ask that question and try to see who's here to help you communicate with animals if one of these is not resonating with you. All right. And the last thing I want to ask is, what can you do right now to really like move forward on your animal communication abilities? Like, what's next? How do you get the ball moving? Do the work. Do the work. This means like, do the work of learning, of understanding, of finding your why, of removing blocks. Like anything, honestly, to move forward, I think is good, because I feel like you have blocks. I feel like you maybe are just kind of new to this, and so it might just be that you need some education and you need to learn about it. It may also be that you just need to get like practice. Again, putting like some time maybe into the Facebook group of meeting with people, chatting with people, reading animals, so that you can get that work under your belt. I just feel like you're kind of new to it. Or maybe again, walking outside, going to the zoo, trying to practice and communicate. But like, get your hands dirty is what this card is about. Do the work, clean out the dust here, and just move forward on it, which was kind of pile number 1's message as well. So thank you all so much for watching. Please remember, I do have an animal communication course if you're really feeling inspired to get started on this. If you are interested in any of the decks that I used today, you can check out the links down below. And feel free to subscribe for more animal communication tips. I have a whole playlist here on animal communication. If you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and just know that you can book a reading with me anytime on my website, or even a coaching session to help you with your abilities. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye. Alrighty, friends, if you chose pile number 3, this pile is for you. The first question I want to ask is, what are your strengths around animal communication? And so that is going to be this card. And just know, when I say animal communication, I also mean the psychic ability. They're one and the same, so anytime I say one or the other in this reading, that's like what I'm talking about. Love this, because this is what pile number 1 and 2 needed. You have a trust with your abilities, and that is such a strength that you have with your animal communication. Like, to me, this is that you receive hits, you receive messages from animals, and you just like trust it. You don't question it. It feels right. It feels natural. Like you know what they're thinking, they're saying, and you go with it. And because you've trusted it for so long, like you are telling your psychic ability, hey, I believe in you. I trust in you. Hey, animals, I believe you. I hear you. I validate you. And anytime you do that with your psychic ability, it literally just becomes stronger. So you have strengthened your abilities through trust purely, and that is such like a good foundation to have, especially if you feel like, wow, I'm just starting. I didn't even know this. Because trust can be such like a hard part of your psychic ability, and it's one that you can't just like fake. You have to like do it, and you have to believe in what you're getting, or it could block you and it could make you feel like, I'm just not getting this. And it could make those hits like come through not accurately, and when you don't trust it, you know, the reading ultimately just might not be correct. So the fact that this is a strength for you, I think, is great, because it says that you trust a lot of the stuff that's coming through. And probably because of that, a lot of your readings are more accurate, because you just, again, you believe in it. You believe in yourself. You believe what these animals are saying. However, I want to talk about like what might be blocking you right now from having your animal communication be the best that it can be. And that is that you're not sharing it enough. That is that you're not like, and I'm gonna take this literally, like you need to really put yourself out there as an animal communicator. If you're really like, no, this was never on the table. Again, remember, this is a group reading, so this might just really be for a lot of other people. But this says professional practice. Like, for whatever reason, either you're not engaging in a professional practice, maybe you're not reading other people, or it could be like on a smaller level of like, maybe you already have a practice and there's something about your business that needs to be like tweaked. Or it could even just be that like, because you have a professional practice, you are feeling more blocked, maybe because you're like out of touch with it. Like I'm seeing so many things of like feeling out of touch with it because you just maybe read a lot of other clients instead of reading for yourself or your own animals. Or maybe you've just been doing it for so long that you're really kind of like burnt out on it. So one of those will hopefully resonate. We also have the number 33 here. That to me says like other people are involved here. And so ultimately, like, there's definitely some blocks around other people, either not putting yourself out there enough, or maybe you've just been like putting yourself out there a lot and not like reading for yourself, or taking a step back from your professional practice. It could also be. I feel like for the majority of the group, and how I'll continue reading it though, is that the universe thinks you can do this at a more professional level, and you have such a good like level of trust that this is something like where the next step truly is to put yourself out there more in a professional sense. And I will say my psychic development masterclass is a resource to help with that. Like I have like the whole end section is talking about like how to make a professional psychic practice and all the advice that I have around that. Awesome. So the next thing I want to know is like, what are your current thoughts? What's your current attitude towards your animal communication abilities? Interesting. I pulled Deep Knowing, which is literally almost the same card as this, but I pulled it in reverse. You feel like you don't have a sense, maybe sometimes, of what the hits are, what's coming through. We're also getting an owl here, which might be a power animal or a spirit animal here to help you. I feel like another thing with this is like, you might feel like you need more, or like you're not as good as somebody else. Like you need more help. And I'm kind of hearing that like, that's totally okay. That's totally valid. Like if you want more help, if you want like a mentor, it's okay to seek that out. But ultimately, you need to remember you do have this deep knowing. You do have this trust. You are able to connect with these animals. Like I love all the symbolism on this card, because we have the moon, the moon and the owl, all symbols and representations of our intuition. And like what I'm hearing is like when you do trust it, you trust it, but then also there's a lot of times where you just don't trust it and you feel like you need somebody else's like permission or validation, honestly, so that you can like move forward with this. But again, like you're a lot stronger than you realize, because I think what this is it's coming through, and there's a lot of moments like maybe outside of a professional practice where you're connecting and you're like, yeah, that's what they think, that's what they say in regards to these animals. But there's some disconnect over like not trusting it at other times. So I really think that even though you think it's not coming through, you actually really have a deep knowing, you have a sense, you have this level of trust in your ability that is there, but maybe you're just like denying yourself from having it for whatever reason. Maybe it's because you don't have a professional practice yet. And the next piece of advice that I would like, I just want to know, like, how can you strengthen these abilities? Like, what is the biggest piece of advice from Spirit for you to connect with your animal communication more? Ooh, maybe it's to try to connect with deceased animals. That is part of my animal communication course, is not just talking to animals that are living, but animals that are past. Maybe for whatever reason, that might just be like a little easier for you. Maybe you can get better validation from like clients or other people that you're reading, just because, you know, they can validate what's coming through. So maybe try, and maybe it's even the opposite, you know, maybe you've been trying to connect with mediumship and it might be easier for you to connect with animals that are living. This could be like an either or. Ultimately, though, like try switching it up is what I'm hearing. Maybe speaking to animals of different types. Again, living, not living, young, old, or maybe even facilitating them in the process of aging and dying. That might be like something that gives you more purpose, more validation, and might help you connect better. That's an interesting piece of advice. Ultimately, though, try communicating with deceased animals if you haven't yet. This could also just be like straight up power animals, spirit guides that are animals. Instead of maybe all you've done is like communicate with living or deceased, like pets of somebody. But there's a whole range of animal spirit guides as well that are out there that we can connect with, which, speaking of, that's the next part of this reading. I'm going to use this book, the Animal Spirit Guides book, and do some bibliomancy to basically ask, who is your power animal? Who out there can help you connect with other animals specifically? We can always ask Spirit to guide us through like specific things, moments, topics when it comes to our lives, our readings. So you can have a guide that is here to help you with any animal communication reading that you do. So let's see who comes through for pile number 3. Stop there. Ooh, Scorpion. Love it. What is the Scorpion a representation of? I mean, obviously it might be Scorpio, like Scorpion, Scorpio. I think of that really deep knowing. Scorpios are very like occult-like, also mediumship. They're very much into like the death, the dying, like that's astrologically a representation of the Scorpion. Scorpions represent changes, transitions, sex, toxic situations. Oh my gosh, it literally even says in here, you'd be very satisfied working with death and dying in some sort of way. Wow. And I'm just asking this power animal, like, what that means for your animal communication abilities. And I'm just hearing that, like, the Scorpion is, like, very protective of themselves. And it's like you have really good boundaries around this, and this animal is here to like help you feel like you're protected in these readings. You can dive into that mediumship stuff, that you can handle a lot more than you think you can. And what I said in the last pile is, even if this one just does not resonate with you, that's totally okay. You can always ask a different power animal to come through. It might just be that this is for some other people. I'm going to put that up there, Scorpion. And the last question I want to ask is like, what action can you take right now to really move forward on your animal communication abilities? Like, what's next? And I got TikTok. And usually when this card comes out, it's about like timing and not being so judgmental about when is the right time to start? When should I move forward? Do I need to wait? Like, it's like, don't hesitate. And also, like, I'm hearing like, it's okay if it's not consistent. It's okay if you're not doing things every day around your animal communication abilities. Again, like, such a common theme with all three of these piles was like, just start. There's no perfect time, perfect place, perfect anything to make this work better or more in your favor. Right now is the time, just as much as any other time. I am also hearing though that like for some of you, for whatever reason, like life might be a little chaotic right now, and that's okay. It's okay to put this on the back burner as well. It's okay to not jump into this immediately. It doesn't have to be today. It doesn't even have to be this week. It could be, next month. You can work on it slowly. So thank you all so much for watching. Please remember, I do have an animal communication course if you're really feeling inspired to get started on this. If you are interested in any of the decks that I used today, you can check out the links down below. And feel free to subscribe for more animal communication tips. I have a whole playlist here on animal communication. If you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and just know that you can book a reading with me anytime on my website, or even a coaching session to help you with your abilities. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.